I think we're ready now. So
Okay.
whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, call item 1, call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Zach Baker, are you here? No. I've been having a hard time contacting Zach Baker from the Downtown Partnership, just to let you know, Mr. Chair, members of the DRC. I called in the office and they didn't know anybody by that name. So I sent the Downtown Partnership an email and I haven't heard back from them. So something to be determined.
Well, if we do locate him, maybe we can send a copy of this meeting to him. So he will get up to date.
Okay.
They've had some staffing changes. They may need to appoint someone new.
Yeah, and that was my question to them with my email. So I'll keep you updated. Mr. Barrett?
Present.
Mr. Burr?
Here.
Mr. Gans?
Present.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, here.
Ms. Schambach, she let me know she was not coming. And Mr. Viner?
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item 2 is review and approval of 6/11/2025 draft legal action report, the LAR. So everybody had an opportunity to read that or have comments about it?
The heading's wrong. It says Design Review Board at the top.
Okay.
For the LAR?
Just the address in the upper bar, the
Oh,
copy.
I see.
Yeah, it had the wrong address. It said Design Review Board. That's been removed, but it's still all this. I don't know if it's the same or not, but it's just kind of funny.
Okay.
On the agenda.
Oh, on the agenda. Okay.
On the agenda, right.
Okay, I'll go ahead and correct that. But in terms of the legal
Minutes
action
look
report.
fine. Good job.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments for that?
Motion to approve.
If not, okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, item 3. My screen's a little frozen here, but here we go. Call to the audience. Individuals may speak up to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wants to speak to this next project we're looking at, Linda Apartments?
And Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, before someone would like to speak, I also wanted to point out you received by email and it's posted also in the IID DRC's webpage, the position that the Menlo Park Neighborhood Association shared with staff, together with their position letter from back in June. So I just want to make sure that everybody received that and had a chance to take a look at it.
I did receive it. I did read it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so there's no call to the audience today. Item 4, which is SD-0525-00076, Linda Apartments. Related activity number TD-DEV-0325-00070, 115 South Linda Avenue, parcel number 116206340. This is in C2 and C3 zoning in Infill and Center District and the Downtown Core Sub-District, GIIS. Okay, we're ready for the applicant.
So, Mr. Chair, members of the DRC, the DRC reviewed, as a courtesy review, this project back in May. Right. So now this is the formal review for this project. And this is the apartment building on the southeast corner of Congress Street and Linda. And it's a total of 77 dwelling units proposed on a 3-story building. They are requesting the IID to be used as a tool for development, and they are their individual parking plan, their IPP is currently being processed by staff. I know that a notification of the IPP was sent out already to property owners within 400 feet. So that's being reviewed right now. Also, the Department of Environmental Services has already reviewed this design package and was okay with it, with the way they're proposing to do the refuse collection. So that's all I have for now. If there's any questions for me, please go ahead, or the applicant is here ready for a presentation.
Are there any questions for Maria? Okay, then we're ready for the applicants.
So Tom, I'm
Please present.
gonna stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
Okay, that was going to be my question. I know last time we went through and had Rick, let me just start my camera here, had Rick go over, but he's done his review and we've responded to his comments. What I thought I would do is just to go through a brief description of the project and some views from it, and then go over the comments that were from Rick's last review. And then I believe there was one that was specific to the IID from our courtesy review. And then once I'm through that, I'd be happy to take any questions and respond to any comments if I can. I also wanted to just introduce quickly Scott Harwood. He's, I believe, in attendance. He's from, he's my client from Oz Development.
Yeah, I'm here, Tom. So thank you. Good to be here, everybody.
Okay. And then I guess, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think as Maria mentioned, we've been through a couple of reviews, both with staff and with Rick, and had a couple meetings to go over and clarify some things. As was pointed out, this is in C2 and C3 zoning. There's a little slice of, I believe it's the C2 color on this side. Here it's at the corner of Linda and Congress, Sentinels to the east, West End Apartments are to the west. Those are both two income qualified apartments. And then Bautista, which is a project that we're working on, is to the south here, which is market rate. Then Monier is over in this direction over here. Just to provide some, or remind everyone of which site we're actually talking about. We've got a couple of aerial shots. First, looking from the west towards the east, you can see the end of Sentinel here, which is at, I believe, at 5 stories. And then you can see the side of Bautista, which is kind of a mix from 2 at the front to 3 to 5 to 4 as you go to the back in there. And this is a street level view of that same kind of view there. So as you can see, the site itself right now is empty. It's being used as a temporary parking lot. It has, I believe, DG on it right now. And then again, the same view from the north, kind of looking to the southeast. in this direction, and then you can see in the street view here that you've got Sentinel here and Bautista in the distance, and West End over to the west on this side here.
You have a quick question?
Sure.
On view 4, the current sidewalk that's there that has the parking end in it, is the property line basically to the curb line and the sidewalk currently is on your site? That's what I'm gathering from your plans? And that's why you're putting in a new sidewalk plan on the west side?
Yeah, so the current sidewalk is outside of our property line.
Oh, okay.
But in order to get the, I believe it's primarily for landscape, in order to get more shade and provide the kind of coverage that we need to get along here. That's in part why we're kind of changing the location of the sidewalk some. The other part of it is that we're creating kind of a large staircase and entry plaza up on the corner in here. So that was a little bit part of it. And we still have the required width of sidewalk on both sides of it. It just comes a little bit out closer to the curb, which is kind of what it does as you go further south with the Bautista project.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. And so these are, we provided a couple of views pretty much from every corner here. So this one is kind of from the northwest, looking to the southeast. That's that stair and kind of plaza area in front of it. There's also a ramp that goes up to the entrance in here. And this is the landscaping that I was talking about, just trying to get a shaded walking connection down to Bautista that way and over this way towards Sentinel in there. And these are basically the actual trees that have been specified in there. And then this is a view from the southeast corner looking towards the northwest. It'll have a screened parking area in the back, the required number of shade trees in the parking, and then the refuse is kind of right at the corner here, which you can see in here. And I can point it out in a little bit more detail on the civil drawings when I get a little bit further along. And then again, from the southwest looking towards the northeast, and basically this is at kind of the high side of the site. It drops about almost up to 3 feet down on this side. And you can see Sentinel in the back, which kind of steps from almost 6.5, almost 7 stories down to 6, and then 5 when it comes to where we're at. So I took the comments direct from our last review with Rick, and then the one pertinent comment from the courtesy review. And I was gonna, if it's all right with you, I was gonna just go through each of them and then kind of go to the exhibit that responded to it. And at the end, I'll just kind of run through everything just to see if there are any questions or any parts that I missed. So one of the initial comments was that there were two sections, I think, or 3 sections of the west elevation where I think the length of it was 54 feet, and the limit on prescriptive limit on that is 50 feet. So in Exhibit 6 here, this kind of shows you what we've done to bring some relief to it. We added engaged piers in between each one of these. And it's basically cut that distance in half in there. It seems like a small change, but actually in one of the bays, we have to flip every layout in it. So but we've got the required relief in the facade there. And then Rick had asked us to show, include a calculation to show that we had 5% of the gross floor area in an exterior plaza open to the public. So we added this diagram, which is by our landscape person, that shows the area behind the public sidewalk here, which is equal to a little bit more than 5% of the gross floor area. Now it does extend over to here to this landscaped area, and it extends back into here, but we wanted to just demonstrate compliance with that diagram. And there was a request that we show the utility layouts. So in our civil, we've got the base cover sheet that has all the data, number of units, number of parking spaces, square footage, all that. Then our actual site plan that shows the new sidewalk and the connections, which was related to another comment, and then added the utility plan. And then just to run through the utilities right now, TEP is telling us they want to bring transformers into here and go to two essentially meter packs within the parking area in there. We have a gas line up here that connects in through the building and then feeds a central hot water heater. Most of the other connections are on the south side of the site. So there's water, there's fire. There are two sewer connections, one to a new manhole right there, and that serves basically the south wing of this building, and a second one that comes all the way up through here to serve this portion of it, and then connects just directly into the existing sewer line there. I think that covers everything for the utilities. So then one of the comments in a couple locations was to provide an IPP to demonstrate that the car parking is available. And that's obviously been submitted separately. As Maria mentioned, it's being reviewed right now. I can talk in general terms about the IPP if there's a question about it. But I thought I would just leave that until a little bit later. Then comment to provide an approval letter from Environmental Services, which basically we've got here. They've looked at the layout. The layout is pretty much the same as the typical layout, but it needed to be 2 feet wider. And so we have a detail on the civil drawings that they've reviewed and signed off on. And that's actually very similar to the layout that Sentinel has to the east of us. And then there was a question about exceptions to the loading and the land and some landscape requirements. I've summarized this. There's actually some detail in the application, but basically if it's entirely a multifamily project, the loading zone isn't required in zoning. And in the downtown core subdistrict, an NPPP is not required in the downtown subdistrict. So, and then there was a request at the courtesy review that we provide more information about what the materials were going to be like. Now, these are some further developed elevations from what we showed in the initial courtesy review. And just basically overall, it's primarily a stucco building with some arches and a darker colored base to it. The height is 37.5 feet to the parapet wall. By comparison, Sentinel to the east is about 2 stories taller than that. And as I mentioned, it steps sort of from almost seven stories down to 6, down to 5, down to this, which is about at the parapet about 3.5 stories in there. But we also provided this exhibit, which calls out in a little bit more detail the colors. So our base color is basically a color called bone white. It's been used on, I believe we used it on Monnier, and we've got a similar color to it on Bautista. The darker base are kind of 2 different shades of a warm gray color in here. And then we've got accent colors that are basically terracotta color on some of those linear pieces, including these suspended canopies. I know the canopies were shown as kind of individual pieces in the original perspective. They're actually going to be continuous like they're shown in here. And then we've got a taupe color for the window frames. That's essentially the same color that we used on Bautista. And then any of the scuppers and the downspouts and all that are in a dark bronze color to match the kind of attachment pieces and the railings and the rest of the project in there. And just to kind of look at some of the examples around, you've got the Mercado, where those type of suspended canopies are shown. The Sentinel was a little bit yellower color of stucco. Monnier was closer to that bone white color, as is Bautista. Sentinel and Bautista have some accent colors that are very similar to it. And again, I had pointed out the engaged piers from Monnier in there. So the intent is to kind of pick up the language and some of the details from the four other major buildings that have kind of been built in this area. So I'll just go back to here. Those are the comments. I can take you through any of the details. I think Maria went through some of them. It's 77 units, about 38,500 square feet of construction. It's a mix of 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, and studios. The majority are studios and 1 bedrooms. And I mentioned the height, roughly 37.5 feet. And then, the parking, there are approximately 25 spaces on site. And then the IPP takes advantage of existing, I would call them unallocated surface and street parking. And basically that comes out of doing an analysis of this area south of Congress, of all of the available parking spaces, and then comparing it to all of the existing IPPs that have already been filed. So, sorry, was there a question?
I have some questions regarding the parking.
Okay.
So are you going to have a long-term lease arrangement with somebody else to provide more parking? You're at 0.37 per unit right now.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So, as I said, I don't have the knowledge to go through all of the detail in the IPP, but my general understanding of it is that what the city asked us to do was to go through all of the existing IPPs that have been filed in this area, total all of those and all of anything that's currently in permitting, and compare it to all of the available parking spaces. And we did that. Basically, there's a surplus. There, I think, approximately 900 spaces available. There's a surplus of 53 spaces, even accounting for any IPPs that are currently in review by the city.
So does that include vacant land that could be developed?
No, I mean, it's like we can't plan for an unknown project. We wouldn't know what their parking requirements would be.
So this is primarily street parking? I'm a little bit confused. Street parking or what?
Street parking or available temporary parking lots in the area. And
What does that mean, temporary? Doesn't temporary mean that there could be a development on that piece?
It could mean that, yeah. But that's basically every IPP that's been filed in this area, and I've been through 2 of them, has relied on those parking lots.
And the properties, the large properties adjacent to you, Sentinel and the other one, do they have underground parking?
So Sentinel is senior housing. And so when it was built, the parking ratio requirement for it was 0.5. So it has all of its required parking on site. And the
So that
idea
was
is
0.5 versus your 0.37, right?
yeah. And I do have a, I have an exhibit that kind of goes through what's been approved at what ratios in the area, if you'd like to look at that.
I think the elephant in the room might be that all of the IPPs for all of the projects that are still in construction without having tenants in them have been predicated on the overall plan to build a parking structure in the area, which has not been proposed or built.
Yeah,
So,
our IPP does not rely upon a theoretical parking structure.
but it does rely on temporary lots that may be future building sites.
It does, but it also, as I pointed out, I think every other IPP that's been filed in here relies on that. I mean,
Yeah,
I can.
It's chicken and egg. It's not your fault. You're in the same boat as everybody else, and I'm not trying to lay blame here. It's just eventually the parking structure will have to be built to accommodate the actual residents once all the projects on all the vacant lots are built.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're definitely correct. It's chicken or the egg. If certain types of projects get built on some of the open lots, they may have a different parking requirement than if other types of projects get built there. But how do you plan for that other than to plan for what exists right now? And that's
what's the mix of tenants in this specific building, the Linda Avenue? What do you anticipate the mix will be?
So I can talk a little bit about that. And maybe what I could do real quick is to just talk about, so this is the calculation that I was talking about before for the IPP. And this is a really simplified 2-sentence summary of a 30-page document, but the IPP is confined to this area south of Congress. It does not rely on a mythical parking garage at the center. It does include every project that's currently either under construction or in permitting, in that total of, required, possible required parking spaces. And when you go through and account for all of what's available either on streets or in temporary lots, there are still 53, I'd call them surplus spaces. And, we went through and just took a look at what were the ratios that were approved both around our site. So there are 2 that are at 0, and this one has a 212 parking demand as a part of it. There are several downtown that are at 0. There's one on Fifth Avenue that's at 0.42, and there's one further down here at 0.17. And another real simplification, but the ideal tenant for Linda's apartments is someone who most likely does not have a car and wants to use public transit. My clients can probably talk about this more. They've built 20 of these. In these types of apartments, the majority of the renters do not have cars. So they gave me a little bit of information just about what their typical
I have a
resident.
comment, Tom, before we move off of this.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know who said
Excuse
that.
me, who's speaking?
Darby. My name is Darby. Yeah.
And who are you representing?
Mission District Partners.
Okay. Are you part of the development team? No.
No.
No, no, you cannot speak right now. I'm sorry about that. It's just a discussion right now between the DRC and the applicant. If later the ID DRC would like to allow you to chip in some more comments, it's up to them to decide.
Okay, thank you.
After,
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So my client shared some, just again, a very simplified description of their typical tenant. And, typically they're young, they're age 29, their salary is around 39,000. They're fresh out of school on their first job and most likely don't have a car. The majority of their tenants do not have cars. You can see from that salary that they're somewhat limited in what they could afford in terms of even an average studio rent. And when you look at what the averages are downtown, also in Menlo Park, but then also in buildings that have been built recently downtown, probably actually the San Carlos wasn't built recently, but that's probably the only one they might be able to afford there. So that's a picture of what their typical tenant is like. And what they provide, and I'm based on understanding the product that they provide a small apartment, but the apartment has a full bathroom, a washer and a dryer, and a full kitchen, all nice brand new stainless steel appliances, and immediate access to transit nearby. And I have 2 kids who fit right into this demographic. And one lives currently in San Francisco in an apartment where she pays more than this for a room in an apartment. I have another one who lives at home because she wouldn't be able to afford an apartment. So there is sort of there's a question about affordability. And this is a way to actually provide housing that would be affordable to a person who fits that description.
Tom, can I assume that the 29 spaces that you are building on site are going to be allocated by separate lease available to your tenants first?
I think that, I don't know, Scott, can you provide some information about that?
Are you planning on leasing the spaces on site for, is it first come, first served, or is it an additional fee and a separate lease? Both are standard practices.
Yeah, I'd have to get back to you. I think Scott must have stepped away for just a second. Can
Sorry,
we hold on?
Tom, this is Steve. I can respond if you'd like.
Okay. Go ahead.
So let me rephrase the question. So is the question about on how the parking, would it be first come, first serve, or would it be paid, or would it be what can you rephrase the question just so I can answer exactly what you'd like to know?
Well, you've got 29 spots on site for parking. You've got 77 apartments. Are you going to, is it just going to be open season for whoever uses them, or are they by separate lease, or are they designated spots, or are you encouraging renters agreements that they get a premium for not having a car? All of these things are like standard practices that we've seen in all sorts of different projects. So I'm just wondering what your general plans are.
So the general plan would be, first off, we need to understand what group of tenants, which we're getting, and Tom explained that, they're typically 29 years old, make $39,000 a year. Most of them are single. And we find that about 0.25 have parking. So when we're saying, that's how much they are. So typically what we would do is we would have a small premium to park. So there may be a $25 a month, parking, and they would get an assigned parking stall so that we actually know that they have a car. That's how we know how many people have cars, because they actually get a parking permit from us. So that would probably be the typical on this, would be to have some small fee that they would get. It's not a free for all or anything like that. So, and if it was, it still wouldn't be a free for all. They would have to get a permit to park there.
Okay, and I assume the on-street spaces there along Linda will be either metered or guest parking at first come, first served.
We don't control that. So whatever the city does.
Okay, and do you have staff managing this building that will require additional parking, and do you have an agreement in place for them?
No, and our staff don't do that. In this case, our staff person probably would use the streetcar.
Okay. We ask these questions of all projects generally because neighborhoods are concerned that people who do have cars don't report them and don't get on site and then park in nearby neighborhoods and create problems. And so we just want to have a general idea because the IPP process is now part of our review in approving a plan. So our recommendation would be included in the discussion for PDSD to approve your IPP process, which is separate.
Yeah, and again, if you, there's studies done all over the country by light rail, and it shows the amount of parking. I mean, this is the perfect zoning for this, and why Tucson has done this is because they expect people to use the light rail system in the streetcar and public transit. And as Tom was showing on that previous slide, the minute you start adding parking, the affordability for any project basically goes away. because each parking stall is going to cost anywhere, between 60 and 100K, depending on how you do it. And that just, you add that to a unit and all of a sudden your affordability is gone.
We too have been watching the trends. We were just trying to get a general idea, and it sounds like it's going to be basically pay-per-service for the parking for people who have cars.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's only on site, right? That's not on the street. They don't pay for the parking on the street. Is that correct?
Well, we can't control that, right? I mean, we don't,
Right.
We're supportive of we have projects in multiple cities like this, especially where there's neighborhoods, and typically there's open spots, there's not open spots, there's places that the city wants to have 2-hour parking, there's places where they say you can park at night, there's places where they say during the day it's a 2-hour limit there. So we've seen all kinds of different things, and frankly, we're supportive of any and or all of those requirements.
Is the
Well, I
cost
think John,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Bill.
I was just curious on your comment, is the cost of additional parking, underground parking, I would assume on this lot, is that the reason that you don't want to acquiesce to the higher density that the Menlo neighborhood is suggesting for this site?
Our density actually is very high. So I'm not sure why the neighborhood would be thinking our density isn't high. I mean, the minute you start adding underground parking, the affordability goes away, and instead of this becoming a workforce housing project, it becomes a luxury product. And an underground parking stall, by the way, is going to rent for $150 plus a month at least.
Bill, was that your question, or was your question more about the housing, the density of units? Because I remember in our courtesy review, it was the number of units and not increasing to like additional stories and so forth to support higher density in an urban condition. Was that your question, Bill? Or
Yeah, I mean, I thought the higher density, the more units you could get on the land would help pay for the additional parking. It'd be somewhat of a trade-off because you'd have additional income.
It doesn't because of the cost. The cost of that underground parking is in the millions, and it doesn't make up. Again, it pushes this to a luxury product. So if you look at Bautista, the rents at Bautista are going to be way higher than Linda.
This is a diagram that just calculates just straight on density, number of units per acre. And this project would be the most dense. I think what Steve has been saying, just to amplify it a little bit, if you go up, and let's say you've got structured parking, which would be less than underground parking, and then you go, let's say 5/2. You've got the cost of the structured parking, which is $60,000 to $100,000 of space. You've got an elevator, which for a 7-story building is going to be in the $250,000 to possibly $200,000 cost. And then you have to go from type 5 construction to type 3 over type 1. And that's, in simple terms, about 100% increase per square foot. And when you add all those costs to the project, you can't possibly make it something affordable that this person could afford to live in.
So these are walk-ups. There's no elevator in your building?
No, there's no elevator. No.
Okay.
It's 2 flights of stairs up.
We never got floor plans, so okay.
Yeah, I wasn't aware where we needed to submit floor plans.
You don't.
Okay.
Well, that explains for me why there's no senior adults in the project.
If they're very fit senior adults who can go upstairs, but I mean, it's 2 flights of stairs. Yeah.
Anyway, my primary concern is that once all the buildings are built in this neighborhood and there isn't enough parking for the people that live in those buildings, you know, I don't know where they're going to park. They're going to park in places that are uncomfortable for the balance of the neighborhood. That's just my thinking. So, and at
So
0.37, I'm in the same business. I've never built anything at that low ratio, but again, I've never built anything in the downtown area. So, anyway, that was just my concern.
I have that concern as well, Bill, in terms of that some people may park their cars in Menlo Park and take away spaces for residents who have to park on the street. And I think that that's one of the things that needs to be considered in this. So, and you may have units that have 2 cars that come in, regardless of what you're thinking in terms of public transportation. So there's always that part of it too.
In 20 plus projects, we don't have anybody with 2 cars. So that's, I mean, you could say that, but that's not a reality in our type of project.
Eric has his hand up.
Eric?
Yeah, thank you. So I guess the short answer for me or part is, one, I believe this whole development was designed and placed here because of the demographics that support low amounts of parking with the person that the clientele is there, the Mercado overall development. It sounds like we have an excess in addition to what's already been allocated of 53 additional spaces that would not be accounted for, that could go to other developments as they're moving forward. And last, I think it's in the chicken and egg discussion, is if we want to create an environment of less urban sprawl and more density, then we need to do things that take this kind of stance. And so if I factor all those in, I'm for the project. I can't not be for the project based on what my understanding the city of Tucson's trying to drive, what this Mercado development is trying to drive, and what now this developer coming into Tucson is trying to drive. So all those things being equal, they've met the intent and requirement of the project. I'd still like to hear at some point from the person that was asked to speak that was not able to speak.
Well, first we need to see if there's any more comments from either staff for the presenters or committee members.
Is there more you want to show, Tom? Or are you?
No, I mean, I did bring our full submittal, but primarily just to, we've listed the 4 things that are kind of asks from the IID process.
I do have one question.
Sure.
The newer perspective shots that you included make it look like it's a solid masonry building with deep inset windows, but when I look at the floor plan, it looks like they're inset 2 inches. Can you confirm how deeply inset the windows actually are? Because if you look at the front version, the shadow line makes it look almost, or just go to the west elevation. It makes all the windows look like they're inset by about a foot, but they're relatively flush, being only 2 or 3 inches within a 6-inch frame wall, right? Or even 8-inch. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Hey, Tom, I'm mute.
Thanks. I got it. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're correct. This one was an earlier view. Unfortunately, I don't think we will have windows that are that inset. They're
Okay.
probably more like this view.
Yeah, they're about 2 inches in from what it looks like.
Yeah, they're a little bit more than that, but because of the foam that we have on the project, but you know, the relief, part of the aesthetic of the building is that the relief comes from these sort of tower elements in here, and then the rest of it is planar. And you know, it's similar to what was done at Sentinel.
Okay. At least they're not flush.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Okay.
I won't ask the contractor to comment.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make that
Yeah,
that clarified. Thanks.
I understand your comment, and you know, we hope we can find a way to do that in the future. That's doesn't bust the budget.
Okay.
So,
And just one other comment. Did you say
Yeah.
earlier that the parking is gated? In other words, the spaces are private. You need something to enter, and
No.
then there. Is that true or not?
It's fenced. It does not have an electronic gate to it.
So that the parking is open then, correct?
Yeah, but it's fenced on all these sides, so it's a controlled parking lot, so people can't walk kind of through it. Which,
By the way, I'm not opposed to that, Tom.
okay,
If this group wants a gate, we'll put a gate. That's again not opposed to that if that's something that.
I was actually more concerned about, are you going to see the dumpster right on the street unless it's hidden by a gate?
And I think that it is hidden, correct, Tom?
yeah, it has doors on it that basically staff come out and open when it's time for the trash service to come pick up the dumpster. But it's pretty standard for the city of Tucson. They have their requirements you have to have.
So you may choose to add a gate at a later time if you need to control the parking more to make sure that it isn't open season, then the allocated spaces are going to allocated spaces, but it's not in your plan now?
It's not in the current plan, but again, if I'm definitely not opposed to it.
I don't know that it's a requirement.
No, but look, I think if it became a problem, we would do it. If that became a problem.
Okay.
I mean, that would have to be, there wouldn't be any stacking, you know, to get in a gated environment. So that would be something that have to be approved by the city. I don't care personally whether there's a gate or not. I was just curious whether those spaces were going to be private and there was no stacking if there was a gate. So
I don't see the city ever sign off on gated parking because of the access. Based on what we've had to deal with for gates and fences, you would have to be 25 feet back and provide a parking stall, interior and everything else. So I don't see that ever being an option, but you
okay,
never know.
that's great. If it's not an option, won't worry about it.
right.
Yeah, Sentinel is open. It's the same setup.
Okay. Should we hear the design professional next, maybe?
Yeah, if I can do that before we get comments. Rick, do you want to?
Yeah, well, Tom covered my concerns in his presentation, and I think he did a good job. I don't have any primary concerns at this point with not approving the project.
Thanks for doing all the work to make sure it complies with the code.
My pleasure.
You've had to review it, what is it, 3 times?
2 or 3 times, but
Yeah.
you know, it's
been a
not
marvel.
uncommon, not uncommon.
Okay.
Oh, the city is fully supportive of the parking arrangement in the Linda Avenue apartments. Is that correct?
The parking,
Yes.
as long as that conforms to the IPP, should be fine.
Maria, do you have any idea where is the planning director waiting our approval or approval with condition of this project before the IPP is granted, or does he have any reservations? She?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Burr, members of the DRC can make recommendations to the PDSD director regarding parking. That's up to the DRC, what recommendations those may be. And just to let you know, Mark Castro, who handles the IPP application, couldn't make it here today, but he did let me know that the public comment period ended on August 4th. And he received only 5 comments regarding the IPP from the public. Those comments included concerns that the concerns issued at the neighborhood meeting were not addressed in the IPP. There were concerns that the applicant was assuming that private lots and future parking garage would be available, and just in general concerns about, under parking in the Mercado district. But yeah, a decision has not been reached yet by the PDSD director. But yeah, the DRC can provide comment regarding parking.
Maria, and since there's on-street parking for this, can that be changed over a period of time, or for other uses, or removed as a use for residents of this unit?
Can you repeat that question, Mr. Gans?
Well, we're talking about the parking on street, and
Okay.
I'm not sure what the agreement is on that and how long that's in effect, and can that be taken away as there's more pressure in building and parking, etc.
The on-street parking, it's in the public right away. I don't think it can be taken away per se, but it's available for anybody who would like to park on the street. I know Park Tucson mentioned that, there's new parking hours for parking, which is restrictions, right, of 2-hour limit in the morning from 8 a.m. and then up to 7 p.m. So, there's, I think, pay stations, unlike space meters as we know them, that have been installed. I think there's 5 of them, and 3 of them are supposed to be installed by the end of this month. And I did pose the question to Park Tucson about a parking plan. I believe they are gonna be working on it. I just don't know the timeline for that.
Okay. Thank you.
It seems like maybe we should encourage the planning director to perhaps do a survey, because if there's 53 spots out of 1,000 that are left after the last 5 projects are built, but there's still 10 vacant sites, a parking structure or changes in regulation may need to be done fairly soon. When residents start pouring into this area. So we may be getting to the tipping point here in the area. And it's not that the planning director will make that decision, but we should encourage the planning director to perhaps do a survey of actual sites and their allocations. In my humble opinion.
I think that's a good idea.
I don't oppose to that. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think we should, I mean, there's many things that we need to discuss on this project, and parking was, I didn't think was gonna be the primary topic.
Do you have any stuff on landscaping, Eric? Or do you
I
like
just, I mean, honestly, if my true opinion is I'd rather have less roads and less parking and more open space and landscape, you know, I mean, and if we're trying to go more urban, like I stated before, then we can't keep providing more parking because that's gonna require more roads. So if we're not trying to be California and provide roads to everywhere, then let's not do that. But let's not hold a developer trying to do a project, hold his hands hostage if we're trying to do something that we're supposed to be saying we're going to be this kind of community.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's the chicken egg scenario you're bringing up, but at the same time, I think the developer is trying to do what they've been asked to do. And I mean, this has got an awful lot of shade trees where it's very hard to put shade trees in a downtown urban development that I honestly am not really opposed to. So
Yeah. The other thing I think we need to keep in mind, even though a lot of the players are the same, the two different projects that we had looked at together are actually separate projects in separate zones with separate development partners. And so they are not as related as we might think. So
yeah,
in my mind, this project itself for this particular site meets the criteria to approve it as presented, with the condition that we encourage the planning director to initiate a survey of actual spaces before any further IPPs are made in this area.
yeah, or try to find a way to provide public parking garage or whatever. I mean, that's,
Well, that's great, but I mean, the city of Tucson discovered it was bankrupt the last time it built garages, so that's never going to happen at a municipal level.
yeah, exactly.
It just
So
isn't going to happen. So it's going to have to be private development that provides them at the next stage if the available parking is now built out. That's why a survey is required.
yeah, fair point, fair point. I think we're all in agreement and we're all understanding the concerns. I just, yeah.
Does that sound kind of like where we're going, rest of the committee members?
I think that works for me, John.
The only thing that came to mind, there was something about, and maybe it's the other site that we saw that was the connection between us and the adjacent property and the screening. I think it was the project on the north side of Congress.
It's the one on the north.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought, but now looking at this plan, I was like, wait a minute, I don't see anything
And I happened to
between.
look, they've revised it and it's in plans review, but it's a separate subgroup of the Oz LLC Corporation. So it's different partners,
Fair enough.
different site, different parameters.
Thanks, Tom.
Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to make the motion then?
Yeah, if everybody's got their comments, yeah, please do.
Okay. In the matter of SD 0525000076, the Linda Apartments at 115 South Linda Apartment, Linda Avenue, the IID DRC recommends approval as presented with the condition to encourage the planning director to initiate a parking study of the area now that it appears that parking may be maxed for in production or built structures moving forward to inform future IPPs in the area.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, and I want to talk some more.
Okay.
And
For
Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, before you do a voting, I just wanted to remind you that Darby, I forgot her last name.
That was my discussion. I want
to.
to hear from the general public,
Right.
because there was
Yeah.
people that had expressed something that before, we probably should have heard from them before we made our motion. So
So
if we need to
the
amend that,
DRB
we need to do that.
Yeah, so if the DRC would
Yes.
like to reopen the call of the audience, just let me know.
It's fine to do so. The thing about a call to the audience is we can listen, but we can't act on it. But we could perhaps modify a motion if it occurs to us to do so.
Yep.
I'm
Okay.
fine.
Well, I'm going to do call to the audience. Who would like to speak? Darby, you had spoken before. Are you still there?
I am here. So I would
I'm
just,
sorry,
oh, sorry.
Darby, before you
Yes.
speak, can you state your full name and your address, please?
My home address or my work
Your
address?
Or your office address or?
Okay, so it's Darby Davis, Mission District Partners, 127 North Franklin, West Franklin. I can't remember the office number. I just want to point out with regards to parking that the images that I have seen and the numbers I've seen are calculated based on lots of private vacant land and making an assumption that there will be a parking garage that is neither in pre-development or permitting and that would be a public garage. All the parking out in front of this particular lot is slated to be paid parking. I believe Maria mentioned something about that, but they're just waiting for construction to be done. I also think there's some questionable density calculations that I've seen on this in relation to West End and Sentinel Plaza and some of the other projects. So I just want to get that on the record for consideration. There's I believe that a lot of the parking in this project is based on, at least in the IPP that I've seen, is based on private lots. And then also I need to correct my address. It's 100, Mission District Partners is 100 South Avenida del Convento in the Mercado District. And that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak or a response to Darby?
I did raise my hand. This is Kylie Walzak to speak.
Hi, Kylie. You're welcome. Please.
Okay, thanks. I'm just turning on my camera.
Well,
Thanks for opening up comments at the end of the presentation so that we had a chance to respond to some of the things. I just want to clarify a couple things. First, I just want to say a comment about transit users and transit-oriented development. First of all, I just noticed that the mixed use part of transit-oriented development is not present in this, and that's fine. On West End, it's residential only. On Sentinel Plaza, it's residential only. But it is missing mixed use, which is an important component to this whole area. I also want to mention that when we're thinking about transit users, you guys, some of you are from Utah, and I understand that the local context here is not entirely clear. The streetcar is great. Tucson is vast. It just gets us 4 miles back and forth to some very select destinations, but it doesn't get us far enough into the community. People still here, we're on the precipice of adopting more car light lifestyles, but in Tucson, we're not there yet because it's a very sprawled out car centric city. So I just want to make sure that that's clear to the developers. Also, speaking of transit users, if we wanted to really market this towards transit users, we would make this more accessible for people who have disabilities. The stairs at the front entrance, make this so that people who are wheelchair bound or have difficulties with mobility can't really rent here. And I know that that's not your charge. I know you're not tasked with building that. I just want to point it out that people who rely on transit often have disabilities and can't use stairs to walk up and down. Do you have a ramp on there? I don't know if I could see it. Okay, great. It looked like the ramp though, like took them really far out of the way to get to the streetcar stop or the bus stop. The bus stop's right across the street on Linda to the west. And then last, I just wanted to respond to the comments about density. When we're talking about density, it's not necessarily calculations per unit, but it is height. I do want to point out, as was mentioned, the Sentinel Plaza apartments to the east are 6 stories. West End Station to the west is 4 stories. and Bautista to the south are 5. This one's 3. And when you say in your comments that you're scaling down, my question is just scaling down to what? Because West End across the street is tall. We prefer to see this be taller and have more units. Thank you.
Can you,
And
for
Ms.
Maria,
Walker,
can you state your address as well? She's going to require that.
Yeah, this is Kylie Walzak, and my address is 232 North Melrose Avenue.
and you're the president of the Menlo Park Neighborhood Association, is that correct?
Correct, but we did not vet these comments that I gave you with the association, so these are my comments alone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Tom's got his hand up twice. I think he wants to respond.
I didn't mean to do it twice. I just didn't know what the
There you are,
correct
Tom. Okay.
protocol was. But I wanted to wait until everyone had a chance to speak. But it was just 2 quick things. One was just to clarify the comment on density. We just used the straight definition of density, which is units per acre. And I guess in terms of the height and everything, I won't go through it again, but I'd refer you back to the kind of data that we provided about what happens when you go from 3 stories to 7 stories. And the simple version of it is it becomes unaffordable, like for a person that fits the demographic that was in that exhibit. The other comment I was going to make is that if you look at the IIP, it includes, first off, every project currently under construction and every project that's in permitting right now. So I think probably fully estimates everything that'll happen in the next year. I don't disagree that there's a parking study needed for it, for the area. The one thing that the IPP does not include is an assumption that there's going to be a parking structure built, because there'd be no way to include it. We don't know how many stories, how many cars it might include, all that. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
I need to say one more thing about the parking with regards to what Tom said. This is Darby with Mission District Partners. None of the private property that is on the IPP that indicates parking will be permitted to be used for parking for this project. So there's private land surrounding this project, and none of it will be permitted as parking for this project. I just need to make sure that that's clear, because I feel like it may not be. Thank you.
Any other comments? John, you had a motion.
I did, and it was seconded, and we can discuss it further. Basically, we approved the project for this site as presented, but encouraged the director to institute a parking study for the area that will inform any future IIPs and what may need to be addressed now that we're appearing to be pretty parked for the area.
Okay.
If I might,
So,
this is
yes,
Rick.
Rick.
I just wanted to add one comment, and to the same effect on the parking. There is a requirement, or not a requirement, but a statement in regard to parking structures in the IID if the IPP cannot be approved. So there's kind of a way to institute parking. However, understanding the limitations for the developer to be able to make the project viable, it may not work. But just as a statement from the record as to the IID's intent, parking must be in a parking structure with the ground floor of the parking structure screened from view. So the exemption to that would be the IPP. If you can't make it work on the IPP, then it would be suggested that a parking structure be put in.
I think that was a lot more helpful in a lot of the earlier projects that we started looking at when more money was sloshing around, both in the banks, the public sector, and uh, federal and state funding. And what I've seen over the last 5 years is most projects may get approved, but are never built because the costs of providing that underground parking structure outweigh any benefits in or getting the financing to build the project because the costs double. And so I think the IPP is probably the only thing that can be done. But because the IPP has now been rolled into our review rather than a separate standalone process that's approved before we see this, I think we need to encourage that we may be getting to the point in this area that this is going to happen again and it may be parked out and we may need to like address the figures because the developers have all been saying 0.5 is no longer necessary from the demographics they're seeing, but where it falls nobody knows. So
John, on that comment, and I don't really heard this parking issue that is we've seen all over downtown, this becoming something that we are reviewing and accepting. Where did that come from? Because I'm not sure should be something we are even evaluating.
IPP's now got rolled in, and so if we approve it as presented, we will be making the recommendation that we agree with the IPP.
And when did that get accepted? Because again, I don't feel like, I
They
mean,
haven't made
as
a
much as I know
decision.
about developments all around downtown, I still don't know enough to say I can account for every parking space, or whether it's used, not used, whether it's vacant land, whether it's street parking, so
It's been a
forth and so
problem for the
on,
last.
that I don't, why
It's been a
is
problem
that
for.
something that the city brought it into our condition of approvals? I mean, that I got to ask this question up front, just saying, hey, wait a minute, because it's a way more complicated discussion and way more involvement into the community as far as how we're looking to develop the community overall.
So,
Originally,
if I may,
IPPs were separate, and they were generally
Maria,
approved before we even saw a project. Now they have been streamlined to meet the time requirements for project development so that they have been rolled in. And if an IPP is part of the project, if we approve a project as presented with no comments on the parking, then the planning director feels we have given a go-ahead to approve the IPP if it meets the conditions they find appropriate. And that has changed substantially in the last 10 years. So that's why we're commenting on parking, because it's probably going to be a problem in the area. But, this is kind of a rump site in this area that is small and is probably the least worst offender of the last projects that have gone through in terms of parking. So I don't want to belittle what they've tried to do here. It's just we may be approaching peak parking potential issues going forward at this time. That's all I'm trying to say.
I understand. I think I'm just making more of a statement to the IID that there's way more involved than for us to say that we can evaluate this and assess this in a proper manner that addresses all the barrios and the downtown districts. Putting that on our shoulders to say that we're accepting or not accepting the IIP or IPP, I think is, I vote against all that scenario. So anyway, I'll vote for this project based on what it is and on its merit and what the design intent and everything else is. But as far as that process, I think we need to revisit that. And it might be a separate meeting we need to have amongst the IID, board and discussion amongst the city's Tucson staff.
Maria, you had your hand up for a minute, for a while.
yeah, I just wanted to mention, Mr. Chair, members of the DRC. So parking, is reviewed by the DRC, but not the IPP, right? So you cannot make specific comments on the IPP, but you can make recommendations regarding parking as you review the proposal on how, their proposed parking may affect, their site and the surrounding area. And in terms of a parking study, I cannot remember how long ago Park Tucson did engage in a parking study for the downtown area east of I-10.
Yeah.
And that was good to see. They demonstrated there was still plenty of parking. We haven't seen another big apartment development in the downtown since that parking study was done. Now for this west side of I-10, they still need to do that. But just based on the numbers they provided, there's plenty of parking on the street at this point.
Okay. If no other questions, can we take a roll call to vote?
Just give me a moment, Mr. Chair. Trying to go back to the agenda.
Rick, do you have a comment before that?
I think it's been addressed. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Mr. Barrett?
You said Barrett? Aye, sorry.
This is the roll call for voting on the motion. Okay. Mr. Burr?
Aye.
Mr. Gans?
No.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
And Mr. Viner?
Yes.
I'm here as
Mr.
well,
Chair, the
Maria.
motion passes.
Isn't Robin's on the call?
Pardon me?
Robin's on the call.
I am here as well.
Oh, you made it. Okay. Can you let us know what time you arrived, Ms. Schambach?
Yes, I do. It was 2:14, Maria.
Okay, thank you so much. I didn't realize you had joined in. I apologize.
Tim, you've been quiet.
So,
Do you have any comments?
I do not.
Ms. Schambach, can I add you to the roll call, or is there anything else you need to
No,
say?
you may. I am ready. Yes, my vote is yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Gans, members of the DRC, the motion passes 5-1.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We now going into
Thank you.
item 5. Thank you, everyone. The IID DRC Rules of Procedure.
So,
And-
yeah, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
No, I just share with you the proposed revisions. I redated them to I think yesterday or the day. I can't remember when I sent them to you, but and Mr. Burr let me know that today he found his proposed revisions from 2023. So I haven't had a chance to take a look at those.
Okay.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
I just want to point out, Maria and I have been chatting because I had a hard time even accessing Teams, and that's been the last couple of days. But I apologize that I didn't get the version that was openable to Maria in time for you all to see and comment. There's still some typos, code errors, and other things, and I'll work on a revised draft so that we can discuss it a little bit further. There's a bunch of stuff in the version that was posted on the agenda that I don't think we want to approve today without changing. And I don't know that we want to be here for another hour and a half today.
I
So
don't.
I would like to make a motion to postpone it to the next meeting so that I can work with Maria to get a draft to you that you will have ample time to review so we can have a forthright discussion before we approve it.
So
That
moved.
sounds like a good. Maria, will you then make sure all the committee members have a copy of that prior to the meeting?
Oh, definitely. This one was posted also in your webpage, and I included it in the materials I
Okay.
emailed to you as well.
It's
I'll
actually
get
the
it here.
same one from 2023 as well. So
Okay.
So, John,
Yeah.
this is Robin. I had a question. I was just trying to remember our bigger picture goal of updating these. Was this updating this document to make it consistent with other changes in the city requirements and code, or are there other underlying goals that I should be considering when I review it?
well, the thing about it is, this is based upon a document that was approved in 2015 when Jim Mazzacco was the planning director, and the IID was still in a draft phase, and we were just organized as a group as under the city manager's office. And so there are a whole bunch of typos. Like, for instance, there is no such thing as UDC
Right.
15.16 point B, it's 0.12. Other things like it says, i.e., number 2 or number 3, but there's only 2 numbers above, not a 3, because that was removed at an earlier revision. And then some other process changes that have happened over time. So it's evolved now to where basically staff has the burden to do all the work, and then the design professional to do all the work. And we only look at a project at the very end. But we were originally organized to provide courtesy review and input to developers so that they didn't go through inordinate cost up front without getting an idea if they were on the right track before they actually submitted a development proposal. So I thought it might behoove us to add language so that that option was available to applicants.
And
It also
Okay.
it
Mr.
also
Chair, members
doesn't
of the DRC, regarding, that last statement from Mr. Berg, staff always encourages the applicants to go before the DRC with their project as a courtesy review before they formally submit their design package for formal review.
And actually, you've done a great job of that, Maria. It's not your fault that the applicants often choose not to. But if there's language that suggests that it might save them money to do so, it could be helpful, even if it's not binding. Yep. Also, the code itself allows us a little bit more leeway of what we can request outside of just a standard application and our ability to review things so that it's not all on the design professional to get confirmation of everything before we even see it. So I just had some thoughts. You all may too. You're welcome to send me any comments or send comments to Maria and she can share it among the group as we move forward. But I still don't think that the one we're looking at today is what we should approve.
Noted. Thank you for that background or context.
Good.
So John and Robin, just everyone in general, I agree with this, but based on what our discussion today is, I'm going to have a recommendation that you either have an active civil engineer on the IID to address this parking item specifically, or a planner or someone, because again, I don't think that's our purview of identifying and signing off on parking standards and requirements for downtown Tucson, not knowing all the projects that are going on.
Unfortunately, that's the case for almost every review board, but I think it'd be fine to add that position to the roster of potentials.
Yeah, we're going down a path that either the city of Tucson needs to step up and really address, or, I mean, putting it on our shoulders to bear this. It's improper in my opinion.
Let's
Any
call the
other
vote on
comment?
postponing it. Can we?
Okay, all in favor? So you want to go?
Did I hear a second, Mr. Chair?
Excuse me?
Who did the
I
second to
didn't
the
hear.
motion? Okay.
Yes. a second,
Robin
yes.
seconded it. I made the motion
Okay.
To-
Thank
to
you.
postpone.
Oh, no.
It wasn't me.
Not me either.
They're obviously interested in ending this meeting, whoever all along.
People are trying to find a parking place. So,
That's right.
Fair enough.
okay. Are we ready to go, Marie?
Yes. So I'll do
Okay.
the roll call
Thank
on
you,
the motion.
everyone. Okay, you want to do that?
Mr. Barry,
Aye.
Mr. Burr,
Aye.
Mr. Gans,
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Schambach,
Yes.
and Mr. Viner.
Aye.
Thank you. And before we go, Mr. Chair, and it was not part of here the agenda, but I just wanted to give you an update on the Congress Street apartments on the other side of Congress.
Yes.
They are going to be reviewed by the PRS next week on Tuesday, August 12th. And so since I have you all here, I'm gonna try to arrange for a DRC meeting with you guys on the week of August 18th. Unless, that may need to change if the PRS decides to continue the meeting, but if it doesn't, I would like to secure a meeting with the DRC right now. Can you guys let me know right now what's your availability on the week of August 18th?
Do you want to just tell you?
Mhm.
Can
Or
you
do
just
you
send
want
out
me
a
to
survey rather than do it now?
Yeah, that's fine. I can send the doodle poll. That's fine.
Probably the 20 to 22nd works better for me than the first 2 days of that week, just offhand.
Okay.
20th and 22nd, 21st is terrible for
Okay.
Eric. Thank you.
And
And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Maria, would you
Okay.
send me the current? Would you send me the current posted rules of procedure as an open document that I can modify freshly?
Yeah, I will send that to you, and it would be
Okay.
a Word document.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
very
Thank you.
much. I
Stay cool and stay
appreciate it.
hydrated.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Hi, Maria.
Bye. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Bye.
No, thank you. And thank you, John.